So I've decided to become a booktuber, booktalker, bookstagrammer, all the above sha. So I thought, why not start the new year with a newbie tag in this whole book world and get to know each other. Hey you, welcome to my little corner of the internet. I'm Ami and you are? Very nice to meet you. So it might seem like I'm missing a few steps, but it's gonna make sense. I really loved reading when I was younger. When I got to university, that really changed. I did pick it back up again, and I felt like it was something that I wanted to talk about on my channel, on my pages, because I'm having the time of my life reading different stories. So let's get into this BookTube newbie tag so you can get to know me a little better. Because sometimes 60 seconds is not enough to talk about a book you've read, especially if it's made you angry, if it's made you sad, if it's made you, feel some type of way. You need a longer time frame to discuss everything. And YouTube is just the place for that. YouTube is generally just the place to yap, and yap some more. So that's mainly the reason why I joined BookTube. Of course, my renewed love for reading is the main reason why I'm joining BookTube as a creator, and I really look forward to, seeing what this year brings. On top of that, I have come across amazing people, particularly on Book Talk. I'm seeing it as a nice community. I have seen the little bit of drama, but I've stayed away from that. But the community that I have been engaging with, it seems like a very safe space, and yeah, I'm just excited. Just me. I'm fun. Okay, I feel like I'll try my best to bring fun and unique takes to BookTube. Of course, there's going to be books that a lot of people read, like popular books and things like that, but I always try and bring my own fun, unique perspective to the stories that I've read, the stories I've come across. I also want to merge my two worlds together, and I don't know if the background of my video kind of gives you what worlds I'm talking about. Fragrance and fiction. I have a series that I started on TikTok. I might bring it to YouTube, so stay tuned for that. I'm definitely most excited about building my own book community, my own bookish community, my own community that like to combine their love for fragrance and fiction. Life is short, let's just have fun. Do you know what I mean? I'm also excited about exploring stories and genres that I probably wouldn't have reached for on my own. Maybe seeing someone's review, someone's reaction can influence me in a good way to branch out my comfort zone when it comes to reading, expanding my palette and that. And also, anyone who isn't into reading, if they come across my page, I think it'll be very exciting to know if I put someone onto a specific book or just reading in general. In this day and age, yeah, we need to read. I think this is a common reason for most people when it comes to reading, but being able to read and be in a different reality, I like to use the word realm, being just in a different space when you're reading, especially when you're like going through things in life. You don't necessarily have to go through tough times to really submerge yourself into a story. Reading just can be comforting, it can be therapeutic, not just the act of reading. The different topics and themes within the stories can be therapeutic. It can sometimes give you ideas on what you can do in your own relatable situations. So for example, I like to read fiction books. Although the stories are necessarily true, like that particular book, the story isn't necessarily true, there are a lot of people who have experienced it, so it is relatable. Sometimes authors do a really good job in relaying what it is that you're thinking that you might not have been able to put into words. I find that a lot in a lot of the stories that I've read. I'm like, this is what I meant in this particular situation, or this is how I feel about this particular situation, but I couldn't put it into words. So those are just some of the reasons why I love reading. I could go on forever. The list is endless. I feel like I speak for many British girls, and I feel like it's also a British black girl thing. I don't know. I might just be making it up, but definitely a British girl thing. Jacqueline Wilson. I can't necessarily just say one book of hers that got me into reading. Of course, the classic, The Story of Tracy Beaker. You got, I don't know if it was a series, it was like Girls in Love, Girls in Something. You had Illustrated Mom. You had Kiss. I think it was like double. It was something about the twins. Love Lessons. She had bangers. One thing about Nick Sharratt, is that how you say his surname? Them illustrations used to go off. As an adult, I would love to read Jacqueline Wilson books again to just see what it was about the stories that got me hooked on Jacqueline Wilson. And of course, Nick Sharratt with his illustrations. I feel like he set the tone for me when it comes to looking at a book and essentially judging it by its cover. I think in general, not necessarily just BookTube. I think being consistent, sometimes you get burnt out, sometimes life takes over. But I really, really, really want to try this year to be more consistent with content. And I feel like starting a new niche could, give me the motivation and drive to, continue doing research, continue coming up with ideas, creating content. Yeah, I think that would be probably the biggest challenge joining BookTube. I don't necessarily foresee myself being in any of the BookTube or BookTok, Bookstagram drama, because at the end of the day, paper is what you guys are arguing about. I beg. I would also say is the fear of feeling like you're talking into a void. Because, it's very easy to get caught up in like the numbers game. Like, oh, I only got 50 views, I only got 100 views. I'm in 200 view jail, blah, blah, blah. If 200 people watch your video, like that's all in itself, that's mad. Because if I had 200 people in my house right now, I might lose it. So just learning how to be appreciative of whatever stage my content is, and just be grateful for the people that, decided to see my video, click on it, whether they stayed to the end or not. The fact that they even said, let me see what this girl's talking about. Those will probably be the challenges that might be the hardest to overcome joining BookTube. So I definitely started as a teenager, again, mainly because of Jacqueline Wilson books. Of course, read some books, mandatory books in secondary school. I think my favourite book when I read in school was Of Mice and Men. I loved dissecting Of Mice and Men in English literature classes, hence why I got an A. Not that it matters now. I started reading in my teens. When I got into like uni, like I was saying, uni kind of threw me off when it came to reading. I also, do I say diagnosed? I don't know. But I found that I was dyslexic in uni. So that kind of, put a little bit of damper on me when it came to reading. I did find that I struggled with reading a lot more as I grew up. But then the love came back randomly in, I want to say late 2022, early 2023. So the book that got me back into reading was actually The Girl with the Loudon Voice. Please excuse my nail. I'm in the process of taking them off. But yeah, The Girl with the Loudon Voice. This is when I was like, oh, so people write stories like this. Let me get into it. So I read this in December 2022, and that's when, reading took off. Let me not say took off, because I wasn't part of the gang, still not part of the gang who's reading 100 plus books a year. We was going through life at that time. Then another book that I read in early 2023 was Love Radio by Ebony Liddell. This was my introduction into a romance book. This is a YA romance, and I think it was the perfect introduction into a romance book, because I feel like if I started with something like Only for the Week by Natasha Bishop, or I don't know, Last Man on Earth by Shay Sanders, I would have been, whoa, is this what y'all eating? So this was the perfect introduction into romance. And again, the thing about judging a book by its cover, seeing this, because I love pink as well, it just, and then, you know, you got two beautiful black characters on the cover. Yeah, I was sold. And this is one of my books that I would read over and over again. I think also because of how it made me fall in love with romance books, I think that plays a part in why I would read this more than once. I read anywhere, but most of the time in bed, literally in bed. I also have this is my reading cozy corner, because my TV's opposite, so to be far away from my TV, I say up here. This is also like my filming space, so I've got a little beanbag, what do you call it, footstool thingy to rest my feet, have my feet up, got my book, can plop, you know, I can have my little drink, my little cup of tea, biscuits, and read in this corner. I also like reading outside. You know, I'm more of a driver, so I hardly take public transport, but when I do, I read on my little Kindle app on my phone, or if I take my iPad. I do want to get a Kindle though, so let me put some money aside for that. And yeah, in between bookings, so I do event decoration. Sometimes it's not worth driving all the way back home to go back and pick up all my props and stuff like that. So sometimes I just hang around. Maybe I go to a shopping center, go to a cafe, and I read on my iPad or my phone, or actual physical books as well. So yeah, I just read whenever I can, really. I am a romance girl through and through. Ever since I got introduced into romance, that's what I've been reading. Yeah, that's what I've been reading. I'm trying to branch out this year, trying to get into fantasy. I did try last year, and I was just like, give me some real stuff. So I'm gonna try and be a bit more open this year, reading fantasy, historical fiction as well, especially black historical fiction. I don't know. I was thinking I want to get into autobiographies, but I'll see. It has to be someone that I like. I don't know if I can read a random person's autobiography. But yeah, I'm trying to get into fantasy and historical fiction this year. I do also want to read some classics, you know, Pride and Prejudice, Frankenstein, like them kind of things. But let's see. I'm a mood reader, so it just depends. I can't help but be a romance girly. You know, add a little bit of spice, not too much, because it gets to a point where it's okay. You guys have cracked each other enough. Like, it's enough. Like, the reason I'm laughing is because I'm just remembering my reaction to The Last Man on Earth by Shay Sanders. It gets to a point, like, I know you guys have nothing else to do because you're stranded, but Otito. Yeah, when it comes to romance books, I especially love romance books written by black women. That will always be my go-to. And yeah, I don't know. If it has a good cover, I can branch out to non-black authors and characters. Let's see. I did buy this one recently. The Truth According to Ember. The characters are Native American, so, well, from what I read in the blurb, both characters are Native American, but I think she's trying to be something else just to get a job. So yeah. I am open to reading. Also, this one, I don't think this is about black people, so yeah, that's that. I'm branching out, but I like what I like. I just want to support more Black authors, especially Black British authors. So let's be giving the recommendations to each other. Let's support the community. I don't know why that turned into motivational. Anyways, I don't really have any questions for booktubers. Maybe one actually, and this is just for anyone that makes book content, even if they don't make book content, anyone that's in the bookish world. How the heck do you read more than 50 books in a year? Like, and shit, killing talk. Like, what? Like, my goal is 50, but I'm not, for this year, I'm not like hell bent on, making sure I read 50. I'm just, because I read when I'm in the mood. Like, for example, I don't think I read yesterday or the day before. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I've read 4 books in January. It just depends. I might meet 50, I might not. If I do, whoop-dee-doo. If I don't, whoop-dee-doo too. So that's my little BookTube newbie tag. I hope you got to know about me and my love for books just a little bit. I'm really excited to make content about fiction and not just books. I'm not gonna say more than that. I'm just really looking forward to exploring more with my content and taking it seriously this year. Let this be the last year that I say to you guys, I'm gonna take content seriously. If I come back in 2027 saying, oh, I'm gonna I give you permission to unsubscribe to my channel. Hold me to it, okay? I would love to know where you're subscribed from, what content you'd like to see, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.